Lord have mercy, there is no better way to describe what we just saw than a political masterclass from New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who took a surprise visit to Washington, D.C. today to talk to Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Now, he played this talk so perfectly that he left the Oval Office with more concessions than any Democrat has gotten in the Trump era from one single talk, which is not only a little bit humiliating for Donald Trump that he's so easily manipulatable. You just have to praise him. You just have to put his name on a newspaper, and you have to take advantage of his transactional nature, and he'll basically give you whatever you want. But this is also embarrassing for the Democratic Party apparatus at large. I'm looking at you, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Our leaders have failed to deliver anything substantial because they don't know how to take advantage of Donald Trump. They don't know how to use their leverage, flip the levers, basically stick up a middle finger to Republicans in Congress while taking advantage of Donald Trump in this way. So I want to break down what Zohran did because it's uniquely clever in my opinion. He put Donald Trump's name on a newspaper and compared it to President Ford, and this got Donald Trump so excited that they are now going to begin cooperating on building new housing. Just to back up, this is off the back of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani giving a press conference about the snowball debacle. There were a bunch of snowballs thrown at police officers in New York City during a snowball fight, and Zohran had to come out and address it. He said, you should respect your officers, respect anybody who's working for the city in overtime conditions and dangerous snowy conditions, which I think is very fair. But then he said, he won't ban snowball fights. And for some reason, this snowball fight clip got 3 million views overnight because people are very interested in this. And then this leads us into him visiting Washington, D.C. today. As always, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed for breaking news, for high-octane debates, and we will continue pushing the Democratic Party in a progressive position so we can win elections and help the American people. Subscribe if you want to join the movement. And let's start with this video right here.
Would you consider banning these crowdsourcing events because they can and sometimes do get out of hand?
So I'm not going to be banning snowball fights or organized snowball fights. I've shared my thoughts with New Yorkers, and I continue to believe that what we are seeing in this response to this winter blizzard from the city workers as a whole, and that includes the hardworking men and women of the NYPD, is part of why the city's getting back on its feet, and I'm appreciative of that work.
Republicans in New York thought they'd be grappling with a communist takeover, but so far, Zohran Mamdani has had to address organized snowball fighting more than like an organized communist labor party or whatever. He literally said organized snowball fighting. I find that really funny. And then I really like his pragmatic stance. A lot of people on Twitter or whatever are mad at him for saying, hey, don't throw snowballs at the NYPD. But what he's basically saying is the men and women of our city, from like, I don't know, firefighters to the people shoveling to NYPD officers, they're all working together to make sure the city's safe. So let's stay respectful. And I think he's right in that regard. To continue, we then learn that Zohran Mamdani is flying to D.C. today for his second meeting with Donald Trump. His first one was also rather lucrative. They connected on a few things. They had a good closed-door meeting. Zohran knows that Donald Trump does care about making New York City better, but basically only as a means to his own glorification. So if Trump's name gets to be on New York City getting better, if Trump's name gets to be attached to this, attached to more projects, if you talk about the skyline, the buildings, the area around his buildings, it'll really connect with him. So he left that first Trump meeting with a lot of good concessions. Zohran then began to praise the artwork on the wall, if you remember, and they took photos in front of FDR, I believe it was. And Trump was like, yeah, I love him. He's a great president. And basically, they connected on that. He's like slowly turning Trump socialist just by praising him. So today, he comes in and he says, I had a productive meeting with President Trump this afternoon. I'm looking forward to building more housing in New York City. And he comes in with 2 side-by-side newspapers. I find this to be so incredibly genius because it takes advantage of what Trump cares about most. So on the right, I guess, and Trump's left hand, but on the right side of the screen, this is a real newspaper article from, I believe, the 70s. It says, Ford to city, drop dead, vows he'll veto any bailout. This is after Ford refused to provide a financial bailout to a failing New York City at the time, and he didn't actually say drop dead, but it's obviously a hyperbolic headline meant to draw attention, and at the end of the day, it worked at tearing down his popularity. So Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen. And Zohran Mamdani manufactured a new headline. This hasn't actually been written in the newspaper yet, but it's supposed to draw a contrast. It says, Trump to city, let's build, backs new era of housing. Trump delivers 12,000 plus homes, most since 1973. And look at the smile on this guy's face. Look how happy this guy is. And the reports are Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, and Donald Trump have agreed to helping build 12,000 new housing units in New York City, which is amazing. The push to build more housing in blue states across the country is necessary. In Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker just made a similar announcement where he is removing certain regulations and helping build more housing. I find this to be brilliant. I find this to be great, especially at a time where if you look at the numbers, people are beginning to leave blue states due to housing affordability. And blue states are a million times better than red states for a bunch of issues, and we're donor states that make more money. But the problem is, the reality is, we have a problem with housing in some of these blue states, and now we're fixing that. We're fixing that. Zohran Mamdani manipulates Trump, and it says, Trump to city, let's build. Zohran Mamdani plays Trump like a fiddle. For a full summary of the meeting, it says, inside this latest Trump-Mamdani meeting, last time the two met, Trump asked him to return with ideas to build big things. Mamdani came back with a massive housing proposal. Mamdani's team created mock headlines to show Trump how such a project would be received. He was very enthusiastic, quote, very enthusiastic. Mamdani pushed for the release of Columbia student detained today. Trump calls him later to tell him she's being released. Mamdani then gave Susie Wiles, Donald Trump's chief of staff, a list of 4 other students he wants help with, all targeted in pro-Palestine protests. Mayor Zohran Mamdani then posted, just got off the phone with President Trump. In our meeting earlier, I shared my concerns about Columbia student Elmina Aikava, who was detained by ICE this morning. He has just informed me that she will be released immediately. Sam Stein from The Bulwark points out, like a fiddle, Donald Trump was played like a fiddle. And I just want to clarify, he was played by a fiddle, and the end result is great. It's great for the American people. It's great for the people of New York. It's great for housing. It's great for cooperation. So I'm not trying to undermine it and seem like what happened was bad or that Trump's a complete effing fool and should have, I'm not saying he should have swatted Zohran away. No. I'm glad the cooperation happened. But I think it's pretty shameful, number one, for the Democratic Party, which has been struggling to get any concessions for years. And number two, I think it's shameful for Trump as well, that he's just so easily manipulatable. As Zaid points out, really makes you wonder how little political talent Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have that Zohran Mamdani, someone who is just a state senator, like an assemblyman a year ago, can charm and exploit Trump, and they can't. That's the point that I've been trying to make. How little political talent do you have to be in politics for decades and decades, and you can't figure out how to play someone from your state? But Zohran Mamdani comes in and is just like, yeah, look at it. You just have to do it this way. This says, breaking news. The Columbia University student, Eli Aikava, who was kidnapped by ICE earlier this morning, has been let go after Zohran K. Mamdani demanded that Trump do so. Thank you, Zohran Mamdani. Here's his spokesperson right after the meeting.
See, I'm here in New York, not in D.C. So the last time the president and the mayor met, the president asked him to come back with some big ideas, how we can build things together here in New York City. And that's what he did today. The mayor took him up on this offer and went to D.C. today to pitch him about a possible project in New York City that could deliver one of the biggest federal investments in housing of the past 50 years. We proposed a project with an estimated 12,000 units. As you noted, sir, our team did mock up front pages of the paper and gave those to President Trump in the Oval Office today. The president was very enthusiastic about this idea that we pitched him. Additionally, the mayor also brought up the detainment of a Columbia student who was detained this morning, and he asked directly President Trump that they be released. Additionally, he handed a list of 4 additional students who had been detained in New York to the chief of staff.
Remember, the first one has already been released, which is already an amazing, amazing concession. Democrats need to run on some simple things in 2028 and in 2026 as the midterms come up. But in 2028, Zohran Mamdani has led the way on affordability, on housing, so build more housing, and we need healthcare for all. However you want to say it, we need 3-word terms. I hate to say that Trump is good at anything, but he's good at marketing. He's obviously good at marketing himself in some way. That's why he's gotten votes despite his pure idiocracy. But he says, drill baby drill. He says, build the wall. He says, drain the swamp. No tax on tips. that has a lot of like rhythm to it. It's short, it's snappy. What was Kamala Harris's biggest policy? It was like a first-time home buyer write-off to incentivize people to buy houses at younger age. There's no like snappy way to say it. So what I'm saying is we need to run on affordability. Housing, housing, housing. Build more housing. We need healthcare for all. And beyond that, run on restoring dignity to the American people and the institutions. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.